I knew I forgot something essential. This is Untethered, where we're live streaming the world. And today we are live streaming, well, kind of a historic spot. We've already been here, so it's not a new historic spot, but it's a new discussion. Today we are mainly focusing on the discussion of Amelia Earhart here in Saipan, which is a popular topic here on the island, one we ran into several times already, and we wanna chat about it. And I mean, we all have our biases, so I think we'll probably come out with those first. But I'm Wesley Green.
I'm Scott B. Smith.
I'm Erica Baker.
All right. Yeah, and so we're all going to chat about this. First off, I think we should say none of us are historians. Maybe if Russ tunes in today, he can chime in from his perspective. If he's a history teacher. But none of us are historians. None of us are forensics analysts. We're just three people doing a travel show, and I found this topic interesting. I hope you guys are down for chatting about it. What do you guys think?
I did my own research online.
Yeah, you said you were just going to go on Wikipedia.
I am an expert.
Well, that makes you an expert. So we do have one expert here on the panel, the internet approved expert. He's howling at me. Hi, you look so friendly.
Anyway. Is Amelia Earhart howling at you?
Yes, Amelia Earhart is in the background.
Please tell her that cat calls are no longer appreciated in our society today. It's degrading.
It's degrading.
It's degrading.
Amelia Earhart, you wild.
I was
Amelia Earhart, you buck wild.
I'm going to go ahead and put out another bias I have, which is that I'm not that interested in Amelia Earhart. I'm interested in argumentation and the way things get, like the way facts get presented and how emotions affect people and stories rather than data, and so that's my interest. But Amelia Earhart, I mean it's like mildly interesting. It's a historical thing. I know it's tied to the island, so they're more interested in it here than I am. But I was like, it never bothered me that the story was she went down in the middle of the ocean.
It's my least favorite Time Life Mysteries of the Unknown book.
I just watched this morning an episode of, you remember the old In Search Of TV show?
Oh, with Leonard Nimoy, yeah.
With Leonard Nimoy. I just watched an episode of that, and I thought this has to be one of the things that spurred, like, it's such a popular topic, especially 50 years ago, more popular. It had to be one of the things that spurred the show. Like, oh, we can do things like, they put it on the list. Oh, Amelia Earhart, we'll do that episode. And the people at the company, the production company, are like, yes, that's a popular topic. They'll really sign off on that. And then they came to the episode and they're like, well, I mean, there's much. And their episode did not have a lot of, very much content, to be honest. There's a couple of theories. There's at the end of the episode, Leonard Nimoy says, there are mountains of evidence, or mountains of I guess he said evidence, maybe, I don't remember, for this or that or whatever. I was like, no, there aren't. You didn't present anything. You had, I mean, it's only a 20-minute show, but I was like, you had some time to present something and you didn't present anything. It was just all theory. It was like, some people think she went down here. They don't have any evidence. And other people think she went down here. Don't have any evidence for that either.
Rest in peace, Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah.
Well, I
thought you were going to say Amelia Earhart.
Well,
her too, I guess.
Evidence. Like, there's mountains of speculation.
Mountains of speculation. There is some evidence. It's not that there's no evidence, but we're pretty light on it, and none of it is like the, anything that just puts a nail in the coffin and says this is the end of the argument. There's no way.
There's no nail in the coffin of Amelia Earhart's coffin. Oh
no. Well, she didn't have a coffin, I don't think.
Well, we don't know, do we?
We don't know. What do they do at the bottom of the ocean? How do they bury people?
don't know. We'll have to ask the new Little Mermaid, I guess.
I was going to say SpongeBob SquarePants.
SpongeBob, because he's like
kind of a dark episode of SpongeBob. To bury Amelia Earhart.
Patrick, what's that floating down from the surface? Looks like an airplane.
God.
It looks like an old airplane, SpongeBob.
So we already talked a little bit at the beginning of the show about, before the show started, we talked about a couple of things, and do we want to reiterate those now?
Like the theories, or
yeah.
Okay, because I just looked on history.com. It's not like I was, because, I tried to do a little mini dive into this, and there's way too many people that are way too into this for my taste.
Well, that's,
whoa, dude. Okay.
Right. Yes. I got to say, that is one of the reasons I said the Amelia Earhart thing doesn't interest me so much as how people get into it, and like into it they are, and how they substitute their level of passion with evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Is it comparable to Elvis being alive? That kind of thing. Like,
I don't think people were ever this passionate about Elvis being alive.
No, because
really?
They might have some sightings or something like, "Ooh, look, we saw the king." No, but like with this person had I don't know what group it was, but this one particular group had pages upon pages, and then coordinates, and then it just started to just go bleh, and all just melt into each other. And I was like, what is going on this page? And it might as well just been like blank, because I was done with that. So I was like, I need some little snippets. And so it's just the theories. I found those, and then just looked into like why the Navy would have stopped the search so quickly.
Why would they? I'm outraged as a taxpayer. I want to know why they didn't keep searching for Amelia Earhart. Erica, do you have an answer for that?
Didn't they search for a week?
Yeah, 10 days, 10 whole days.
Oh,
now,
10
here's
days.
why, though, because I was like, God, that's crappy. It's because the Navy had turned out, it says right here, to conduct the search, and Time reported that it was costing $250,000 a day and endangering the lives of the searchers, even as the possibility was decreasing of finding Earhart or Noonan alive. Now, I did a little bit of a matching of what those funds would be today, and guess how much that would be. Well, that was $2.5 million then in 1937. That's already too much. But
let's give a little bit of context here. Amelia Earhart, when she went down, was not alone in her plane. She had somebody else with her as a navigator and crew person named David Noonan, and they crashed. David?
Oh no!
I thought it was David.
I hope so. Wait, let me look.
And they crashed in what year?
37.
Its name's Fred.
Fred, yeah.
Whatever, but we got.
It doesn't matter. It's not important.
No, it is. What year is his last name? Because I was calling this guy Andrew the other day, but his name's Zach. But that's okay.
I thought you'd be the guy with Amelia Earhart. I was like, we just established he was neither of those names.
No, and he's not David. He's Fred.
He's not David either. That's correct. He's Freddie. Freddie to his friends.
But look,
Freddie Nooner.
Today,
Nooner. The Nooner.
Oh, Nooner. Oh, now we've got
Freddie
a nickname
Nooner.
for him.
Freddie Nooner, you getting on one of them new flying contraptions? You gonna fly across the ocean? If God intended us to fly across the ocean, He'd give us wings.
I'll take it.
Why is he so countrified? I love it. He's from Illinois.
His friends are countrified, though.
Well, me playing his friend is a country bumpkin. Okay, me playing the friend of Fred Noonan, Fred David.
Needs to increase
Noonan,
his range.
Okay,
David. Really best.
Nooner.
David.
Old Nooner.
Okay, but look, y'all, that's $51.5 million that it would cost to maybe
$51.5 million.
So
that's a lot for a search.
I mean,
that's what was spent.
That's what
in 10 days.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I mean,
wow.
that's a great effort, honestly, considering they'll just leave my broke butt out in the middle of nowhere and they'll be like, "Yep, she died." I could be like like talking to them on the phone and be like, "No, she's gone."
She's gone. Can't help her. So what's the official answer for what happened?
The official answer, they just said that she and Noonan crashed and died in the Pacific Ocean, and they searched for 10 days, and then they're like, "Well, that was money spent." And you want me to say what I said? I'm going to do it. Well,
oh yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, no, that dead. And you know, R.I.P. Rest in power, Earhart. Pouring out for our homies, but
pouring out for the homies. Done. Yeah,
that's a lot of money. Okay, now what I want to know is why didn't they have a little bit more things set up?
Yeah, my keyboard's below.
Just in case she was to crash, like something. You know what I'm talking about? Like, why didn't they just
like a net?
Just a large net across the entire Pacific Ocean.
Please fly over this net.
No, I mean there was a ship that she was supposed to be able to get to just in case too, and it was like the Itasca. Like they didn't have anything in between New Guinea and anything. Like they couldn't have ships out there.
Yeah, like, I'm not eager to go into that all of the details, but she was going, her around the world trip was stop to stop to stop, and she was going between Papua New Guinea and Hawaii, and she had one stop in the Howland Island.
Mm-hmm.
Howland Island. Okay, that's where she was headed for, and so, and her last transmission, as I recall from watching all the little videos and reading all the little things, is that should be over the island right now, but I can't see it. So she thought she was over the island, and since she couldn't see it, presumably she was off target. She had drifted either to the left or right as she had gone long. Now, Erica, you mentioned Tighar a moment ago. What's their theory? Do you have their theory or?
Okay, so the Navy at that time had asked anybody who might hear within hundreds of miles. Of course, by the way, there weren't people within hundreds of miles, so the signal was bouncing. I don't even know the official reason and exactly how radio signals bounce either, but guarantee you that there are freaking theories out there of how that works too, in addition to the actual scientific reasoning behind it. But anyway, these things bounced off, blah, 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 and then they heard Amelia Earhart, they being people from all over the place. So
right, they were
actually heard her saying water up to your knees, something
right, as if she had crashed and was in the water.
Right. And so it says that the Navy had even here. Wait, let me find it. They alerted family members. Some were investigated by government authorities and found to be believable. And of course, others were dismissed because it was probably crazy pants people. You know what I mean? But
crazy pants. No, but you're talking about the people that heard the transmission around the world, right?
Right.
We're talking about people in the U.S. mainland.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what to think of Tighar. I thought for sure they were just a cuckoo organization that were making up stuff. But when I did my in-depth research on Wikipedia, apparently they're a real organization. I don't know how cuckoo the people are that run it, but yeah, they so this theory, they're finding radio transmissions that were heard from people around the globe. That's not how radio works.
Some lady in Kentucky, in Ashland, Kentucky, a woman said she heard Earhart saying KHAQQ calling, and she was on or near a little island at a point near. Then she said something about a storm and that the wind was blowing, and said, "We'll have to get out of here, and then we can't stay here long." And that's what, now, you know that just some random woman in Ashland, Kentucky is not making up some of these things. You know what I mean? It's like,
Well, I'm glad you said that, because we now need to get into the eyewitness testimony thing. Yes, Scott?
KHAQQ was the call sign she was using for her plane, which I think its name was actually the Electra.
Yeah,
but KHAQQ was the call letters she was using on the radio when she was communicating with.
Is the Electra the name or the model?
It's
I
Planes
think
don't have
that's the
names,
name
right?
of it, right?
I believe it's the name. Yeah.
Because
Do
it was
planes have names?
it was a Lockheed
Yeah.
plane.
It was
Some of
Lockheed
them.
Electra.
Uh,
I don't know.
Well, we're reaching the limits of our expertise now.
well, you
I
kept
don't know
saying
if planes have names. I just thought they
The
were
s-
just models like
the
cars.
Spirit of St. Louis is a plane with a name.
I think it
Yeah,
probably
all right, fair enough.
is the whatever
Name.
you call it, the model.
The model name.
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
so, because I
I
never
mean,
saw it italicized like a ship name either. So maybe that is what it was.
okay. All right. Well, to anyone watching, this is a discussion of us trying to figure in a place that's to do with place. And I'm go ahead and say I'm trying to lead us to Saipan. Like we're going to talk more about
Oh,
Saipan than any other theory. I just wanted to, introduce that there are a lot of theories, and some of them are pretty, like this Tighar organization. They put together their theory. I don't know how people are hearing radio signals in, where was it, Sheboygan?
Sheboygan. I would love to just use that word. Wait. It says it right
That's what I
here.
just did.
This is telling you why. It says, but thanks to the scientific principle of harmonics, Tighar says, others heard much more. In addition to the primary frequencies, the transmitter also put out harmonies of those wavelengths. The paper says, that's a Tighar paper, which I'm not going to read because nobody's going to give me a degree for this. So, but high harmonic frequencies skip off the ionosphere and carry great distances, but clear reception is unpredictable. That means where's it at? Oh, Earhart's cries for help were heard by people who just happened to be listening to the radios at the right time.
that's not. No.
And I'm like,
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
that sounds a little
no.
why?
Convenient.
Why?
Well,
convenient. And
also, she was broadcasting on a wavelength that is reserved by FCC regulation for air. Was at the time reserved.
yeah,
by
there were only two things for her. There was two channels or whatever for her. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were at the time at least reserved for FCC by the FCC for aviation communication only, which means ye old radio in somebody's house is not going to pick that up. That's what
Okay.
the FCC does, folks, is it keeps our airwaves clear.
But they couldn't listen to it. Is that you couldn't listen to those?
You
right.
couldn't,
I want to know.
you couldn't get those wavelengths. They wouldn't allow the radio, the public broadcast radio, to be in the same wavelengths as the bandwidths that the aviation airplanes are on. I mean, that's why they keep
this
them
paper.
separate.
They're saying the U.S. Navy put out an all ships, all stations bulletin. Authorities asked anyone with a radio and a trained ear to listen into the frequencies, but that's only 3105 and 6210, the ones that were right there. And then these people with Tighar are like, oh no, it bounced around all over the place. I don't know what
it bounced off the atmosphere and then back down to where were these people at?
Okay, this lady was in Kentucky. I have no idea about the other people. But also
anywhere on the planet.
Some were investigated by government authorities and found to be believable. I would like to see these
found to be believable.
Right. I want to know what government authorities found this to be believable.
Look, I don't have a globe in front of me.
I want to know. I'd like to know what they're smoking. It could not be more on the opposite side.
That's
of the
what
planet,
I was just
Scott.
about to say. I don't have a globe in front of me, but I'm pretty sure Kentucky is pretty much on the opposite side of the world from where she was in New Guinea and that area. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So I know we're all Star Trek fans. I hate to put off anyone who might watch this in the future and not want a Star Trek analogy made. This is like the Star Trek episode where they deal with a problem that they've dealt with every episode for the last 7 series, and then all of a sudden think up a new solution to it. Like I've never heard of this before. A radio transmits from the opposite side of the planet and is heard in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. There's no way
you're
that lady
just
could
discovering this.
Right,
it's the first I've ever heard of this. Are you kidding?
It's a damn good radio,
and just too convenient that it happened to happen with her weak, signal coming from a broken down plane sinking in the ocean, and she signals, and someone in Kentucky hears it. What? That one doesn't. Now it actually. Oh, go ahead.
Seems very far fetched.
Right.
Usually, all right, to go back to Star Trek, usually when something like crazy improbable happens, they have to discover what, at least within the physics of Star Trek, which are closer to real physics than some other star-based things, but within the physics of
Things
Star
with
Trek,
star in the title.
space things,
Yeah.
Let's put it up. Within the physics of their world, work
Right.
out. Like, it's not a crazy, weird mystery anymore.
Right.
It's not a ghost that lives in that candle, Dr. Crusher. It's some kind of plasma-based energy being.
Oh my gosh, I was just looking at that because I was talking about Will Wheaton. But anyway, go ahead. Okay, just
that's all. I'm just saying that usually they come up with some kind of scientific reason.
I think that one of the reasons that this kind of stuff is plausible to people is because they have absolutely no grasp of geography or any kind of scientific theory, because you have to look at this freaking map and you would have to keep zooming and zooming and zooming and zooming and know that you are so freaking far away from there. It would take you days upon days to get to there from Kentucky, just to fly to there, especially at that year.
I mean, I wonder if you did have a transmitter powerful enough that would reach all the way around the world, and maybe those exist. I'm not a radio.
But would a lady in Ashland, Kentucky have?
Well, she just has to have the receiver.
She just has to have the receiver. That's true. I guess.
I wonder what the time, how long it would take to get there. Basically, like how long would it take the radio?
Split second
delay. Really,
it would be instantaneous to a human. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, radio signals travel at the speed of light, so.
Well, I would like to read only about this because they have a big old paper. TIGHAR has a paper about it, so we could really look into it. But I mean,
TIGHAR is only one.
The ultimate limit on radio signals being sent from a tower or anything attached to the ground is the ground itself. The curvature of the Earth will block the signal at some point. So it can go so far, but you can't go past the horizon, the visual horizon. Because it's line of sight. It's a straight line.
Okay.
With the exception of black holes and things, you don't get curves in light in radio signal movement.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's traveling in a straight line from its source. It's just doing it in basically a sphere in all directions.
Yes,
at once.
that's right.
Yeah,
that's radiation.
Yep. That is radiation and gravity.
That
and
means that this lady would have heard that, though. That was the day after she went down in the Pacific. So that plane is very slow sinking, or she was supposed to be on whatever island. Now, some people say that was Gardner, which is that Niku Mororo. I don't know if that's the name of it.
Right.
Gardner Island. And then that's not too far from Baker Island, Howland Island. Those go up a little bit from there. And where's Marshall Islands? Because the
Marshall Islands are to the west. So if she had veered right from Howard or Howard or Howland.
Howland.
Okay. If she had veered right while she was headed to Howland, she would have ended up on Gardner Island or in that area. And if she'd veered left, she'd end up in the Marshall Islands, which includes some atolls. And I think the best guess it would have been some sparsely or unpopulated islands.
Well, one of the other theories is that she and Noonan were captured in the Marshall Islands by the Japanese.
So here's how we get to Saipan.
Right, exactly. I'm trying to segue us over there to Saipan.
You're bringing us around. I wanted to talk a little in the front end of the episode here about all the other theories. This is one of several, but I got to be honest, those others just don't sound. There's two that are highly viable. She just went down in the middle of the ocean. And the ship sank, or the plane sank because it wasn't a ship. Sank so far, it's just never going to be found. It's in the bottom of the ocean. Could be, virtually anywhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been 100 years later almost, and there's still planes that crash in the ocean that we can't find.
Right? Yeah. It's strange people's thinking when they hear that and they go, and they never found it. Like it's not like the Bermuda Triangle. It's such a mystery. It's not a mystery. The ocean is really big, and you can only search small areas at a time. And it costs a lot of money to do, and really deep.
People don't understand geography.
That's right.
And ocean currents and stuff.
No,
I mean,
right. Right.
That's
I'm sure this will come up again some point in the future, but people's grasp of numbers, the average person's grasp of numbers is not real good. In fact, you shouldn't say average person. Like human beings just didn't evolve to grasp these big numbers. So whether you're talking about deep time or deep ocean, people don't really get, they think, oh, but when you see it, it'd be right there. No, you wouldn't. And you could search the same spot that she was in for hours or for days and not find her because
look at like the Titanic. I mean, they knew roughly where it was. I mean, it's not like it lost radio communication and all that stuff. They were sending out signals and all this kind of stuff, and it still took them decades and decades and decades to find the darn thing, which is a connection to this Amelia Earhart search, because David Ballard, who found the Titanic, also conducted a search for a National Geographic special in 2014, 2012, somewhere around there. I read look for Amelia Earhart's plane around, I think, Howland Island, and they didn't find anything.
Yeah, I think that was 2012 because I was looking at
2012. Okay. And Wesley, you were right. It was an Electra was the model of the airplane. You were correct.
But it'd be cool.
I mean,
Amelia
it's not
Earhart
impossible to name a plane.
Right, but
Yeah. I'm just saying, it's like the Spirit of St. Louis is like the only one I can think of, and I'm like, well, of course, it's a famous airplane. And I thought, well, if anybody else is going to have a famous airplane name, it's going to be,
Amelia Earhart.
Earhart and
she should have, because she could have put that Marvel character on the nose of the aircraft and gotten a sponsorship for Marvel.
A Marvel character who wouldn't be created for another 30 years, I guess. But yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
That's the one.
Just all it would take is a little forethought.
That character's name has no predecessor in our historical record or literary knowledge. Electra never, Stan Lee or whoever just came up with that.
Yeah, obviously.
What a genius!
Because she was flying in a Lockheed Electra.
Yeah,
maybe it wasn't Amelia Earhart of the plane, but it was actually Electra, the Marvel character. No, anyway, all right. So here's the Saipan theory.
Miss Wesley doesn't know her real name.
Who's the real name? Who
Electra.
do I know? Oh,
the character.
Her real name, not Electra. She doesn't. So she has another name.
Such a famous Marvel character throughout the world that nobody knows her real name. I don't know what it is.
No, I don't either. I don't think she has one.
I don't know.
So you don't know it, so I don't know it, so she doesn't have one.
No. Her name is Electra, though. She's got like a Greek last name. It's like.
Is Electra a Greek name?
It's like
she's a Greek ninja.
No, I mean like the comic book Electra. She has a Greek last name. Or in my head.
Well,
it's a Greek
it's like something. No, she does, and Electra comes from like Greek literature, ancient Greek literature or mythology or something. So. The original.
Oh.
Yeah, it does.
All right. Okay. Well, now we know where the plane name came from. I don't know the myth very well. Okay, so the theory goes, and I'm going to leave out details because I think one of the problems, we'll get to this later, one of the problems is if you don't know exactly what happened, you haven't established, adding in lots of details doesn't make it more believable, or it shouldn't. I'm going to leave out details. Those details like, oh, here's what happened to the plane, and here's how she felt on Tuesday when all this was happening, and it's like, okay, we don't know that. You're just trying to establish that she was here. So the idea is that when she veered into Japanese territory in the Marshall Islands, that she tried to crash on one of the islands, and they found her or saw her crash, or had her on. Like, God, are you gonna put that up?
Yeah, that's some important information, everybody.
All right. So she's in Japanese territory. The closest, I hate to say major because this is obviously a small island. It is populated. So the closest place for them to take her from wherever she crashed would be Saipan. Now that's not close, but they don't have a lot of other major settlements around the Pacific. They controlled the islands, but it's not an area where there are big cities everywhere. So this is the closest place that has a hospital, closest place that has, a settlement and a port and all those things. So they pick her up, and maybe her plane too. We don't know. And they bring her and what's his name? Fred, Zach, They bring them both
Fred's
up to
Nooner.
the islands. Nooner, good old Nooner. They bring them up to Saipan, and that she is housed here in the jail. But I guess both of them here in the jail until such time as they're sent to a hotel, and where she dies of either dysentery or injuries or a little of both.
She died of dysentery? Just like an Oregon Trail.
I was going to say that.
Well, so the lady that says that she met her and that she visited her house twice and she ate with them, which is the most like detailed account, and what I would consider a primary source, I guess. She said that she was not. She didn't say she was not dying from injuries. She says she was injured, but she was ambulatory for about a week. And then at the end of the week, that the lady was told by, she said a busboy at a local restaurant that the white lady had died. And this was after like severe stomach issues. So we're guessing dysentery. That would be but I imagine that if that's what happened, then it would be in combination with injuries. I can't imagine she crashed a plane and got away with no injuries. I don't know there's any reason to think that the Japanese tortured her. They could have if they thought she was a spy. But again, this is more the speculation, unnecessary speculation. They put her in the jail here. I can see that if they thought she was, she's an American spy. There'd been issues with the United States and the Empire of Japan since the late 19th century. So maybe they thought she was a spy and put her here. Okay, I can believe that. So that brings us to the jail. So I'm going to read the thing from the jail and then we can chat.
Okay, because I have an article regarding a guy whose uncle said he was. Wait, hold on. It was his uncle says that Earhart, I keep saying Earhart. My
Earhart.
God, he is driving for NASCAR in my head every freaking time I say it. God, Earhart and Fred Newton were prisoners on Saipan and killed, according to Uncle's tale. So I have that for that place right there is where, okay.
Where I'm at?
Yeah.
Okay, let me read this first, and then I'll walk around while you tell us about that, and we can actually see the jail. Okay. All right. So the Japanese jail, a building shrouded in mystery. I don't understand why that is.
And trees.
And trees, mostly in trees. The Japanese jail was built between 1929 and 1930 at the order of the Japanese administration. Previously, prisoners were held in a small detention facility that had been built during the German administration. By the late 1920s, however, it was no longer adequate to accommodate the needs of a rapidly growing population. The walls of the two cell blocks and the adjacent administration building were of concrete construction with wood and tin roof. In the early days, the jail was surrounded by a security fence made of wood and tin. Sometime later, possibly after the start of the war, a portion of the security fence was replaced by a concrete wall. Immediately to the south of the jail was the Honganji, which had an associated crematorium and graveyard. One concrete gatepost of the temple is still present. During World War II, 2 U.S. pilots were held in the jail. Both died during the pre-invasion bombardment and were temporarily buried in the Hongji Cemetery. Popular lore has it that the famous American flyer, Amelia Earhart, was held at this jail after she disappeared on her 1937 round-the-world flight, although there is no conclusive evidence to support this story. And this is part of the Garapan Heritage Trail site funded by Northern Marianas Humanities Council and the Marianas Visitors Authority. If that makes a difference to you. So go ahead, Erica. You've got things to say.
I've got things to say.
I got some
and it's not about Earhart, by the way.
We're not going to mention Dale Earnhardt again.
I'm
on
absolutely going to do some type of a face blend thing.
Was Amelia Earhart actually Dale Earnhardt?
Yes. Well, you know what Jacob said. He said, well, both of them crashed. And I was like,
both.
Oh!
Well, they did. It's true.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
No.
A man with ties to Saipan shared information that promotes a theory that Amelia Earhart was brought to the island and held prisoner 80 years ago. William Bill Sablon, who lives on Chamorro. I don't know what on Chamorro. Okay, says his uncle Tun Akin Tuho worked at the prison where Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan were taken prisoner in Saipan. And here, let me find it where it says it. It says theory shared by History's TV special says Earhart, I gotta make sure I say Earhart, was captured and executed on Saipan by the Empire of Japan. That the U.S. government military knew it, even found and exhumed her body, and both governments have been lying about it ever since. Dun dun dun. Sablon's uncle's story fits this theory. In 1971, he was speaking with his uncle and cousin about his dream of becoming a pilot when his uncle mentioned the people that were held prisoner in Saipan, just chilling and talking about them. His uncle described an American woman and a man taken to Saipan prison mid-1930s by ship. He said they were found with a plane on the southern Pacific island under Japanese control. Sablon said Earhart was brought to Saipan for it was a hub for the Japanese. So that sounds like what you were talking about. His uncle said that he remembers the woman and man because Caucasian people were rare on Saipan. I bet they wish that was still true. The person was usually quiet, but the pair's arrival caused a commotion. They had no reason to be there, Sablon said. His uncle said the plane they were flying was dropped somewhere in the ocean before coming to Saipan. The uncle said that the two were in Saipan prison for 2 or 3 days before they were killed. So I don't know about 2 or 3 because the other person, she was saying a week. Sablon said it was possible U.S. found and relocated the remains. According to news files in 1960, a CBS radio man, Fred Gerner, spoke with at least a dozen reliable witnesses from Saipan who shared that before the war, 2 white people arrived on Saipan, described as flyers or spies, and they were held in the Japanese jail. They said the flyers were tall and one of them was a woman, and her hair was cut short, and she was wearing men's clothing. Sounds about right for that one, though. But
right, yeah.
And how would they? I'm just saying, as far removed from everything as I see that you are right there, how much further removed was it in 1930s or 1960s there?
Right, yeah.
Know that what she looked like, or you see what I'm saying, to where they wouldn't just say, "Oh yeah, that's her," and then they just had seen a picture of her in the paper or something. You know what I mean? That year was 1937, the same year Earhart and Noonan were lost. So I mean, what?
Yeah.
Wait, it's a stupid pop-up thingy on my thing. I have to close it out because it's stupid. See, that's what they get. I'm not going to read their stupid article anymore. No, I'm going to go back to it, but I have to mute it. But I mean, that sounds like it could have happened. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Why would they lie? But
okay, so I started to hit on this earlier. I think I got distracted. When we fail to implicitly trust eyewitness testimony, it's not about thinking that the person is lying. It's about the what's the word I'm thinking of? The weakness of eyewitness testimony. The fact that eyewitness testimony is so easily corrupted, and people have such terrible memories for detail, not for gist. Most studies show that gist is understood, like that is retained, I should say. Whereas details, yeah, you don't want to trust details. And it's not about people lying. Like people like you and I that see the same event, and somebody comes along 10 minutes later and says, "Oh, what happened?" We're both going to have slightly different stories and remember it slightly differently.
I mean, but people do lie also. Let's not, people are nut jobs also. But these people, that from what you read, just from that guy and from the other people, it sounds like, and from what you were talking about, it does seem to all kind of make a little bit of sense to where you could say, okay, I see why people would think that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
I mean, I pattern and currents and all that, but
can I tell a story that kind of relates to what Wesley's saying?
Yeah, sure.
I took an intro to psychology class during college, and we were getting to the part about memory, and the teacher starts the class, and is the professor, sitting kind of leaned up against his desk in front of the room, and suddenly a student walks in, says something very nasty to him about needing to move his car or something, hands him a note, and then turns around and walks out immediately. Just barges in, hands him a note, walks out. And he said, "Wow, that was shocking. What did that girl look like?"
Mm-hmm.
and it was varying result. You know, what did she tell me? That kind of thing.
Right.
And even though we had just seen it,
Mm.
there were varying descriptions. There were, varying accounts and all this,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he was showing us, how fallible human
Right.
memory can be, even with
Oh
something
yeah.
like that is a shock and you would remember it and
Right.
all that. So yeah, there you go. That's
But
my
all these people
anecdotal
do
Yeah.
evidence.
remember a couple of white folks, and
Right.
that's for sure. That was like the constant, is it was a couple of white folks. I don't know about yours
Right.
saying that one was a woman. Did you say one was a woman on yours? When you were talking
Don't
about
remember, do you?
oh yeah, but that's because I was trying to freaking mute every single thing I have on here. I promise you I would have listened. And now see, I can't get back to that article. And okay, here,
That's a. I presume that's a. I'm just like stopping for a moment to say something about the jail. I presume that's that giant chunk of concrete that's been removed there was from a hit from a U.S. Naval attack.
No, it was Kool-Aid Man.
Oh
Did we
yeah,
determine that last time?
yeah. But he was part of.
This is where Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah, we determined he was working with the Japanese Empire at that point. For some reason, was in the Saipan jail at the time on inspection or something. Yeah.
Oh, well, it looks like he burst out of the cell. So maybe he was being held by the Empire.
Oh, maybe so.
Maybe Amelia Earhart and Kool-Aid Man are the same person. Dun, dun, dun.
Maybe he was sustaining her with his life-giving sugary drink.
And then later she died of diabetes.
It's gonna happen to me eventually. So
no,
that's all right.
I mean, that's essentially to everybody, as long as it's far enough away.
I mean, a long enough timeline. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's fine. Sorry, I didn't mean to get all dark. It's fine.
Yeah, you really brought the mood down. Thanks.
Oh, I brought the mood down about Amelia Earhart.
we were joyously celebrating the disappearance of Amelia Earhart.
In my head, for some reason, I have got it mixed up with Bermuda Triangle stuff too. Some kind of wires have crossed, and
she was not in the room.
I keep thinking for some reason there's some kind of connection, and I don't know why, because there's not. It's completely on the other side of the planet.
It is.
There's nothing mysterious that happened, so I don't know.
Well, the Bermuda Triangle is not mysterious either. It's just another example of people not understanding numbers, not grasping.
No, that's
probabilities.
Not true. There's aliens.
Well, that and the aliens. I mean,
I'm not saying it was aliens.
Yeah.
But...
definitely aliens. So there's another one. That's a big hole. That was a smaller Kool-Aid Man.
That was one of those like little boxes you can get, like a juice box.
I feel like this one was the administrative building.
Yeah.
Because there's no cells in it. At least none remaining. Yeah. The others definitely have cells.
And we all know Juice Box Kool-Aid Man works in the office.
That's right.
That's its character.
Hey guys, I'm gonna take a walk to the beach. I'm done with the jail. You guys, Erica, do you want to tell us more about your jail time?
We're so done with this jail. Well, I'm trying to scroll through this without having a stupid pop-up video go blah 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 on here. But it seems like that was basically it. Just the people said couple of white folks, one of them's a woman, and let me see. Yeah. Okay. That's it. That's the other theory, because the other theory, other than that, Marshall Islands or somewhere in Micronesia to Saipan, is that they crashed and died in the Pacific, and that's it. And find them.
Well, I think that this theory has more credibility than it probably gets credited with. Credited. Sorry. Anyway, it probably doesn't get the credit it's due. And I kind of wanted to spend a little time talking about that. Because the people who promote the theory tend to be journalists or just people who've made careers out of selling books about Amelia Earhart and I'm not saying it's highly lucrative. I'm not saying that they are consciously trying to deceive people. But of all the people that are promoting these theories, it doesn't seem like one of them is a historian. And
Yeah.
go ahead. That doesn't mean they're bad people, but of all, it seems like someone would have said, boy, I'm going to go to university for the, relatively brief time, considering how many decades they put into this, some of them, and get some credentials in history and learn how to write academic papers for the field of history.
I mean, or alternately, you could just hire somebody who already has that to help you with it. I mean, you don't want to waste your time. You got more money than time.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
are you
I mean,
like just any of the regular folks that might have seen them might have gone.
I don't mean witnesses or people here on the island. I mean I have yet to see a single islander who is publishing books on this.
Right.
They're reading books that were written by people off island. I guess mostly mainlanders. But they like the people that are doing it. There's a lot of them are journalists, and they have to be influenced by the fact that they want to sell the book.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the way this is presented is very sensational, very story oriented. Those dogs, by the way, are well contained within a fenced area.
Is that a joke?
No, these are. I mean, that's why I mentioned it.
Some of them come running around. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they're the only dogs like that on the island. Every other dog is running free.
That's why I was
chasing you down the
street. Well, there was this. Okay, so what you're saying is like these people, at least the witnesses there, you're saying that maybe they don't have any reason other than just to say it. Like no gainful reason to say it. Sell something.
No one here is. Right. So this goes back to the if you don't trust my testimony, you think I'm lying. I don't think people are lying. I think the testimony is not being collected in a fashion that would satisfy academic concerns. Like you could not get what has been published into an academic journal because it's not
provable.
The research methods do not meet standards of academia.
Well, listen,
to put it mildly.
Here's something right here. Look, in 2018, there was this other article about a 93-year-old woman from Saipan. Now, this is the way this article says. Now, this is from New Zealand, but I don't know what news source this is. It's some New Zealand news source. A 93-year-old woman from Saipan has reiterated her well-documented sighting of famous aviatrix Amelia Earhart. Now, what well-documented? Because after this, I see about 10 lines of stuff and I see nothing about well documented. So then I have to go and search from there. I'm like, where, what, how is it well documented? Does she have pictures? Right. Did she get an autograph? I mean, did she get some hair clippings? I mean, what is going on with this documentation?
What they meant to say, I think, was that she had been interviewed many times.
Yes.
Right. Which is not the same as being well documented. In fact, even an interview conducted by someone who is not a historian can taint the result. We all know you can lead a witness. Now, I don't think that's what's happening, but
right.
Yeah, but that's a possibility, and that's why I'm disappointed that the only things I see about this are from journalists who are already inspired to make a sensational story, and then they're using it to write a book which they want to sell. And that doesn't mean that they're consciously trying to deceive anyone, but it does mean that they start out the story with, let me tell you about my life, which is what I got right here. It's like, that is not an academic approach. So and now on the academic side, I didn't do extensive research, but I did look at Google Scholar, just looking for peer-reviewed articles that would be about this. I didn't find any.
Well, it's
I've found a
also
lot of sites that said truthy, truthiness, and truth, and
Right. Yes, everywhere you look. I mean, the first thing that makes you suspicious is this is the truth. It's a fact truth, and it's full of truth facts. And if you don't believe it, you're a racist and a dummy. I ran into that quite a bit, and I was like, that's not convincing. I'm sorry. What they're doing again, they're trying to sell books. And I don't begrudge they're selling books, but there's a reason that's not getting picked up in mainstream, academia. And then you look and you see the lack of stuff in mainstream academia is actually kind of a good sign, because, if you hope that the theory gains traction, which a lot of people here on the island I know do, although most people are pretty, lax about it. They're not like, it has to happen today, but I mean, they believe it's true and they're waiting for evidence. But really what needs to happen is someone in academia and getting a history degree needs to come out and compile the evidence. Doesn't mean that it's going to be a slam dunk argument, but if there's anything that can be teased out of all these interviews that were done by journalists over the years with islanders who saw something, then they'll be able to pull out what's valid and what isn't, what's supporting evidence and what's a main thing. And there may never be. I mean, there may not be a point where. Can you guys see the beach? The whole point of coming down here was to show the beautiful ocean behind me.
I can see a little bit of greenery behind you.
Good enough. Yeah. So, I mean, I would sort of saying that I believe it definitely happened and she was here, but I don't think there's no evidence. There's enough first person accounts of two white people in 1937 on an island where, I mean, Carlos said it last night. He said, the only white people we had on the island for a couple of decades at least had been Japanese people. So I was like, yeah. And he's like, you can tell the difference between someone who's Japanese and someone who's of European descent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes back to the gist and details. Like, your memory is not good for details, but you remember the gist. I think seeing a person of a race you had not seen in decades or ever.
Yeah. No.
Uh-oh.
He'll be back. It'll pop back on. See, there it goes.
Oh,
There's
right.
always about an 8 to 10 count when it cuts out a little bit. Okay.
Okay. Well, just to let you know, while I was cut out, I did tell you the secret of Amelia Earhart's location.
Oh,
You'll never
I
know
cannot
the
repeat
truth.
it.
You'll need to come up with your own page for us to know the truthiness of it. Finally, the truth.
The truth of truthiness. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that sort of thing does not inspire people. It doesn't inspire rational thinkers to believe you. It inspires emotional thinkers to believe you.
Mm-hmm. There's a
You're
lot
like,
of those,
it happened.
which is why there's a ton of stuff out there. Like, it's insane.
There is a ton of stuff out there, and I feel like we've reached the part where we can talk about. Well, I want to say one thing first, but then we can talk about the crazy theories, which I hope you guys ran into a couple. I thought they were fun, but just to distinguish something, this is a fairly rational theory. She crashed in Japanese territory. The Japanese found her or saw her crash, took her to the closest island that could house somebody, and that's how she got here. We don't know what happened to the plane. Okay, there's no aliens involved in that. There's no magic. It's a fairly rational theory. We don't have a lot of evidence. But I like the crazy theories too. I like them. But I was going to say first, and because I just thought of this, it's what has caused historians to steer away from this. And it's an analogy, so I hope you'll bear with me for a second. But I remember I don't know when it started, but I remember when I was a kid in the 80s and right up until the 90s, the science of the two halves of your brain the research was done, and there was discoveries made about how, one half of your brain does, one hemisphere of your brain does, some things, and the other one does some other things, and and the science was so exciting, I guess, to the public, or to the media at least, that the media took it and misunderstood it in the easiest way, the simplest way to put into a story, and turned it into like a creative half of the brain and a rational, only the facts, ma'am, half of the brain. And that was popularized, and that the people began to believe that, and it became so popular that it became unpopular in scientific circles to study this thing. Like, it just became such a third rail of, like, people, if you study it, people are only gonna misunderstand it, and they're only gonna, the media is gonna want to talk to you and then go. And so we've gotten that all wrong, and you're never going to get anywhere. It just became very unpopular to study it in scientific circles. And so for a long time, a couple of decades, maybe up to right now, there wasn't a lot of research done, like a lot of neurological research done on the hemispheres of the brain and how they differ. Some, but it became a very unpopular topic. Maybe that's changing now. I hear things on podcasts that I listen to about that. But I feel like that happened with Amelia Earhart. Like, it's a valid historical topic, but there's so many cuckoos out there writing books about how she was, she landed on an alien spacecraft, or she's actually just fine and living in New Jersey. That's a real one, by the way.
That was one, yeah.
There's so much of that. I feel like real historians have steered away from it. And while there's not, you might think it's just because there's no evidence, maybe, but there's no evidence in the regular, like, if she just went down in the middle of the ocean, she would have sank, right? So there would be no evidence. So nothing to research. So if you're going to research the crash of Amelia Earhart, I mean, it's just odd that there's no historian out there who's searching these different possibilities. And I think the reason is because you get associated with crackpots.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like that there was one part of the brain that's dragnet. Just like she said, just the facts, man. I'm just saying.
Right.
But yeah, that really has to be it, because it's not advantageous to anyone to try and look into it at all, and it's not
right
that it's not popular. Like, there's just so. What are they going to do? Drag the whole Pacific Ocean and find?
You're doing no favors to your career. I mean, not everybody has to, buy into one of the alternate theories. I'm not saying that, but no historian in the last how many years? 70, 90, lots of years.
Well, it's also at least the sources I saw and the people I heard talking about it were usually Americans. There were no Japanese. For instance, there wasn't a lot of Japanese scholarship or input on it. And I'm like, well, if their military had her, I mean, I know there was a big regime change, obviously, at the end of World War II, but if their military had her, would they not have some record of it somewhere?
Records, right.
And it's been so long now, it's not like those would be
on the point of records, like, in the pre-internet age, they would have been here on the island, at least for some point. Maybe they didn't get transferred off. I don't know. So they've been here on the island when they were attacked by the Americans. They could have been destroyed. A lot of things were destroyed when the Americans attacked. So possibility. Also possible that the Americans took the documents and put them into classified, files, and were sitting off in Washington somewhere. It's possible one day someone could declassify the documents and we could find out, but it's possible they don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
You can just the president can just declassify them by thinking about it, is what I've heard.
That's the power the president has. O's shoot out of his forehead.
Yeah. He turns into Charles.
Things become declassified.
Yeah.
A fat, unfortunately, ambulatory version of Charles Xavier.
If I can digress for just a second, they've made Charles Xavier ambulatory again in the comics, and I do not appreciate it.
Why did they do that? What?
Did they give him Rockette's legs? Because I would like that.
I haven't seen him. I mean, without full pants on, but no, it's
if he had Rockette's legs, he would show them off.
Yeah, he totally would. He would be like, I haven't been able to show these off in a long time. Here we go. No, I don't know why they decided to go that route. It's I always thought it was good representation, which the X-Men have kind of always been about, was representation of people, to have somebody who was handicapped as one of the most powerful people in the world, really, and
Right.
all that.
Yeah,
and
that was a good character.
yeah, but now he's walking around, and I don't know, it's silly.
Joining the chorus line.
Necessary. Oh, I forgot to mention. Wait, it was written somewhere in one of these that the Japanese actually aided in the search effort. By the way,
Yes,
days
that
following.
too.
So, I mean, I guess I broke my mama's watch, and then I acted like I was helping her find it. So, I mean, there is that. I'm like, where is your watch? Oh no, let me look under the sofa with you, Mama. I didn't break that.
I'm really helping out with this because I too am mystified as to how this happened.
Well, yeah, because what I read, it seemed like some of them were like civilian vessels too, so they may not. If the military got her, they wouldn't know. They'd just be like, "Yeah, sure, we'll come help. We're fellow human beings. We're going to come try to help find another human." Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Well. So, did you guys run across any cuckoo theories that you really liked?
That Jersey one takes it. I mean, honestly. About money.
I will not
Or
remember
aliens.
the date.
Wait, aliens.
But isn't aliens? Weren't aliens in one of them? I mean, in one of them, she was a secret spy. I don't think there's any reason to believe any of this.
She was forced to become Tokyo Rose.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
She became Tokyo Rose, right?
And for people who don't know, Tokyo Rose was one or more English-speaking ladies that were broadcasting Japanese propaganda out during the war to try to demoralize Allied troops in the Pacific Theater.
Right. Yeah. Broadcast all over the Pacific. So that was Amelia Earhart.
I wonder if they made it all the way to Kentucky with that mess.
She was broadcasting, though, from New Jersey. You have to remember that. She couldn't live a double life.
It was... she was the first person with like a stay-at-home job, Second.
That's right. That was when Skype was just a prototype.
Yeah. It's called radio.
Oh, right. Yeah. Luckily, you can hear radio on the other side of the globe. So.
You can. The radio tower she was using was a mile tall.
I love that every radio station on the planet has been limited by range forever. And yet, these people are like, as it turns out, you can hear radio on the opposite side of the planet.
Because it bounces off the ionosphere to do something.
The ionosphere, right.
To do something where a woman in Kentucky can hear it and be like, I heard her saying
a lonely woman in Kentucky.
We don't know that she was lonely.
Well, she's listening to that radio pretty hard.
She might have been very fulfilled. We don't know.
A very fulfilled woman could waste her time with a ham radio. Well,
sorry to all you ham radio operators out there. Wow.
Your hobby is not legitimate to me.
What a hot take here. Oh my gosh. We're gonna stir up some controversy on this broadcast.
We're gonna get letters from the association.
We're gonna get cancel cultured.
How dare you disparage ham? I would never disparage actual ham, by the way. No.
Actual ham is really good.
It is. It's actually good. Oh, on the New Jersey thing, I was going to say. So the guy that wrote the book on the New Jersey thing, he got sued by the lady who obviously his life got disrupted by this claim that she's Amelia Earhart. She got sued by him. He had to retract, and the McGraw-Hill had to stop printing the book. And then another dude did it in 2000, I want to say 3. Same woman.
I bet she was no longer here to like file a defamation suit.
I'm guessing, yeah. So he's like, I'll write that book again. I mean, it was just the same stuff, but because people don't
cross the first guy's name off the first page and wrote it on Sharpie. That's the only difference.
It's like old copies of the book with the old guy's name scratched out.
Through and
It's a little piece of masking tape over it that says, it was me. I did it. I wrote this book.
I'm going to save a mint on this. Get all the profit.
Because, they had to stop printing and selling those books. So I bet they had warehouses full.
Yeah, exactly. He just went through with some masking tape and a Sharpie. He made dozens of dollars that day.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I don't know. You guys got anything else?
I like the related article underneath this Amelia Earhart one. It says how to survive a plane crash.
Well, I think the first thing is don't fly alone over the South Pacific with like shitty radio equipment. Okay, sorry.
She had one guy with her. Yeah.
Nooner.
Good old Nooner.
That was a big thing that I learned, that apparently
Noonion's first name?
Noonian. It was Noonian Soong, yes.
Noonian Soong. We need to reassign this guy a name.
That basically most of the evidence around it seems to indicate it was the radio equipment's fault. Either damage or something broke, or there was miscommunication. I mean, not to make it a pun, but miscommunication on the channels they were going to use, and it was a new system, and Earhart hadn't been really trained on it. Like somebody came up and mansplained it to her like 10 minutes before she left, and that was it.
Oh,
yeah, like it wasn't hard to deviate from the line that she was supposed to go.
Yeah, and
get to there.
And they had all this stuff set up, but it seemed like there were issues that were just waiting for a problem to come into play with all those communication stuff that was vital for her to find this tiny speck of land in a giant ocean.
Do either one of you have on your computers the map of her around the world journey? Because we didn't mention like just how much she had done before she got to that point.
This was the final part
countdown
of it, basically.
Yeah, I've got the little. I actually just pulled up.
Across the Pacific.
But also, here's. Let me pull it up. Let me put it on. Should I pull it up and then share?
Well, please do. We love when you share.
Please do. Okay, wait. Let me scroll. But there was this one little. All these articles keep going back to this Tighar like it's gospel, and I'm like, this is speculation too. It's like they believe that.
It's the kookiest one. I mean, maybe some, if they can get a scientific like group behind them, not one scientist that says, sure, you can bounce shit off the ionosphere if there's an ionosphere, if you believe in that. I mean, you can find one person to say anything. So if they can get, if science says yes, this is a thing, then I'll believe it. But this sounds kooky as shit.
Okay, here I'm going to share this.
Now wait a minute, Wesley. Do you not remember that episode of the Star Trek where they bounced a transporter beam off the ionosphere and it came back down and it made a copy of everyone's favorite commander, William Riker?
Oh,
he lived on that planet for years, and they came back to look around, and they was like, "Oh, thank God you're here."
I don't think that's an example of successful bouncing.
I don't know. I would love a bunch of Rikers.
It's weird.
Yeah, was he bearded Riker or
young Riker?
What? Sorry.
Oh, young Riker.
Yeah. Oh, young Riker. Yeah, young Riker.
Yeah, it's not amazing to me they never tried to bounce to try to redo that to create more clones of people, I guess.
Well, Amelia Earhart didn't need a clone. She just needed somebody to pick up the phone.
She didn't need a clone because
she was a clone.
She was transported to another planet in the Delta Quadrant by aliens and was found by Captain Janeway. That's
what they wanted to happen. She was actually transported to Kentucky because that's where signals go, where they bounce off the ionosphere.
No, it was New Jersey. She just beamed into existence there as a clone of Amelia.
And then married a banker. Okay.
Yeah.
here, I'm going to share my screen because
That's who I always imagine somebody as like
whoa, what?
awesome as Amelia Earhart would marry a banker.
Was she married to a banker?
No.
That's what it said. That was the theory for the
that was
the banker for the
that was fake
Jersey
Amelia
one.
Earhart. Okay.
Yeah, and then, like okay.
What I wonder what real Amelia Earhart's husband did.
Well, I would think that Amelia Earhart's husband would actually be her wife because just by looking at her, I don't know, but that's just me queering
No,
up
she was
everything.
married. She had a husband.
I know. I'm just queering her
You're
up because
thinking that it might be a
Level.
I can make up some crap too. Thank you, Tigger.
yeah, but yours seems a little more plausible than
I found Amelia Earhart's U-Haul. Oh, that's a lesbian joke. What do they bring to the second date? A U-Haul or a suitcase. Mm-hmm. But anyway, okay, here, I'm going to share the screen. Okay.
All right.
Okay. And clicky click and then share. And then
here. There it is.
Okay. Can you see it?
Sure.
I don't know if I can make
it
okay.
Bigger. I mean, I can't see it, but I've looked at it before. So.
Okay. Because here's Howland Island. The big, come on now with them.
But look where she started. Los Angeles. Starts in Los Angeles, flies across the continental United States, down to South America. She's purposefully flying a route that keeps her as close as possible to the equator, because she's the world had been flown around before. There was already around the world flight made. I think it was nonstop, but it was done at such a latitude that it was only 15,000 kilometers. Mm-hmm. So she's flying at a latitude that will put her closer to 30,000 kilometers. I think 27 is what it says. So that she's flying around the fat. She's flying around the fat part of the Earth.
The flat part of the Earth. I think we know what that means.
Oops.
Uh-oh.
Do y'all see how there's a little explosion over here at Howland Island? Now, also, okay, so it just
they're like, this is, and then boom.
It's like a Wile E. Coyote thing.
Now down here, it seems like they're really.
The nooner just fall down through the ocean with that whistling noise. Like
although Noonan was confident he would have no trouble finding it using his impeccable navigational skills, with an abundance of confidence, Noonan climbed into the Electra with Mary Earhart at 10 a.m. I'm like, they're really.
It's okay to write a narrative about a historical event whom you're not trying to convince someone of. But when you're full of nothing but, the drama of of a romance novel.
I'm not saying it was Nooner's fault, but it was Nooner's fault.
I mean, they really laid it on thick about that. They're like, oh, he was really confident, but look at this explosion over here.
Look at this asshole.
But see the explosion we put on the map? Shouldn't have been so confident. They assign him the confidence, and then they write a little explosion. Okay, so my point of the map, though, sorry, before we go on, is look how far her and him and the plane had gone by the time they got to Papua New Guinea. It is not beyond speculation. I don't know. It's not beyond believability that the plane malfunctioned, that she flew slightly off course, or he made a mistake, or whatever, and they would end up, in Japanese territory, or the other direction.
And even before she left, remember the other plane or something had happened where she didn't get to take off to begin with because she crashed in the very first.
Because it was the second try.
Yeah. And then she went on her trip. And then this guy, it's them just relying on his navigational skills, her flight. And then I have the other.
She was blindfolded. They forget to mention that.
Let me pull up this other thing. Hold on, let me pull it up. It was the stop sharing. Okay. Let me show you this one. Okay, here.
Okay.
I will share again because we're going to go into look how far off it is. Okay, here.
You mean Saipan?
Yeah. I mean, that based on where was that? There we go. See this?
Yeah.
Okay. See, here's Capitol Hill over there, Saipan. I like how it's just Capitol Hill on there, though. So she was here in Papua New Guinea, and then she's supposed to head her line.
She was supposed to be headed towards Hawaii.
And that's this way. And then Howland is somewhere over this way. And then Baker Island is where people said she might have ended up. Oh, no, Baker Island or something right here. So she was headed this way. So Howland was here. Baker is here. And somewhere down here is another place where it was speculated she went to. And then also over here. So, I mean, here's her line, this straight line. And either she went all the way off to this way or all the way off to that way. I don't know. It just seems like a really big deviation.
Well, she definitely would not have flown due north to where we're at now, which is what you got marked there, Capitol Hill. That's Saipan.
Because you would have to go, whoop, yeah.
Right. She would have had to flown due north. She wasn't that bad. The nobody in this in this situation was that bad off.
Right. So it's plausible to say, they could have fallen into the ocean right here.
So I wonder if I have written down. Do you guys remember the name of the atoll where she was supposed to have crashed in the Saipan theory?
Let me find. Hold on a minute.
It's Miri or Mealy, or there's an M involved.
Yeah. Amelia Atoll. I put a link to a map in the chat that has that on it, and also has a whole line.
You did?
Drawn. Yeah, just now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you have the map?
I do.
Can you share the map?
Yeah. Do you want me to pull it up and share it?
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
It's is it a blue one? Is it a blue
map
with a little bit of red white dots?
Oh, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the one. I think this is it right here. Here, link. Present. Share. Share. Boop. There.
Close enough.
Because there's Gardner, Howland, Millie. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it looks like that shows the Saipan theory in red, that she would have flown slightly left or north of her intended route and landed at that atoll. Then because that and Saipan were part of the Japanese Empire, she would have been collected up and taken to Saipan, which was the closest, civilized place.
Well, and nothing. I mean, all of these are showing like a direct line, like she goes off course immediately, but anything along the way, some slight deviation along the way, it's a really big blank ocean. Right.
And she definitely, because of her last transmission, she definitely wasn't where she thought she was. But that's not unusual. Right up until the post-war era, and we start getting computerized stuff doing things, it was really possible to be a long ways off from where you thought you were.
Yeah, and that's to go back to your earlier point about how, planes had only, about the technology at the time. I mean, planes had only been like invented for about 30, 35 years at that point. I mean, they were new.
Really astounding that there had been, in that amount of time, there had been transatlantic flights, and she was the first person to fly across. I always like first person better than first woman, because that's like saying, well, a man did it, now I'm going to do it. But she was the first person to fly from Hawaii to California.
Oh, okay.
She wasn't the first to make a transatlantic, but she was the first person to make, and that distance is greater than the transatlantic flight. Hawaii is a long ways out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did find a scholarly paper about this. Yeah. It was really someone that, it's, let me find it. It's called Myth, and that properly named Myth and something. Hold on. And Myth and Memory, Amelia Earhart. It's from, it's an EDU link. So that's a little bit more.
An EDU link, or was it published in a scholarly journal?
It's well, I think this is someone's graduate thesis. I'm just going through what they found from verifiable sources, where all of the last transmissions, when I was going down there to,
I mean, at least that's been reviewed, though. I mean, by somebody who would.
Right. So, I mean, I would be more likely to listen, because this last part right here, hold on. Okay. So their last transmissions, because it actually gives the full thing, it just seems a little bit more likely as to what happened. But their last transmissions were issued during the morning of the 2nd. 7:42 a.m. We must be on you, but cannot see you. Gas is running low. Been unable to reach you by radio. We are flying at 1,000 feet. And then at 8:44, we are on the line, and that's where people always put that one online. 157, 337. That was her beeline to go to Howland. We repeat this message on 6210 kilocycles. The plane never arrived at Howland Island. And it says the United States, with assistance from Great Britain and Japan, launched a multi-million-dollar search. And that's, so all of those things right there just tell me that somewhere where she's thinking she's on that line, that they just ran out of gas and plummeted into the Pacific.
Well, and that was the thing too. I think in that transmission, she said she was going to be on 3150 or whatever, and she was going to move up to 61, whatever the next number was, 62, whatever.
Yeah, 6210. Yeah,
higher frequency. And she didn't.
Right.
She kept broadcasting on that same frequency, even though she was saying, "Well, I'm moving to the other one," but she kept broadcasting on that one because they heard her. So something was up with their equipment, either her use of it or how it was functioning, or there was a lot. It was a lot of little moving parts that just something went wrong, I think.
Right. Yeah. And after that much wear and tear on a plane and all the equipment, all the way that far.
Well, they even mentioned the checks that they did in New Guinea, though, on all the equipment. And I mean, but it's one of those shit happens things, I'm sure, but.
Well, what I read too was that some of that stuff had been replaced and removed and replaced, and the communication stuff was new stuff that they had just put in there, and it sounded really not cobbled together, but really a lot of stuff sort of married together that maybe shouldn't have been.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the the antennas and the radios and how they worked and all that stuff, there was a lot of modifications that had been made. There was a lot of stuff that this radio works better with this kind of antenna, but that wasn't the one that was used, and that's for XY reason. And so it just
interesting. Yeah.
And one of the things they said was that there were rafts. They looked for rafts, so they must have had some on the.
It was a passenger plane. They had room in there for stuff. And Electra was meant to fly about 10 people.
Yeah, they said a lot of it they were trying to use or cram just as much fuel as they could onto the plane, but it said something about them looking for rafts, so they must have had them on the plane. They didn't throw those out.
Right. So. Yeah. Well, I have to say the most difficult thing about all of this is parsing out the passion that so many of these journalists, these writers have, because they start off with it's the truth, it's reality, and how come everybody's not on my side yet. And I'm like, look, if you had a non-controversial theory, it takes time to be adopted by academia. They don't just wake up one morning and go, whoa, some journalist wrote a book, therefore this is fact now. And there's been little to no effort to swing the academic community. So then the official history isn't going to change. It isn't journalists that write the history.
Right. Your WordPress article that says truth at last is not going to convince people that have made their life's work actual scientific and
shut up. Yes, it will. Yes, my site will.
How dare you? Right. And that's the passion you need to convince people, not serious people. But
I think that maybe you should speak for a little bit about how this theory is seen in the local population of Saipan. What do people there think?
Well, I'm sure there's a wide range of least on the island. That's why I wanted to get Archie to come join us today, but he's swamped with Fiesta Fridays at the museum, so he said he couldn't join. He did give me the number of a lady who's in charge of that, and I did not call her for this. I didn't want the discussion to be overwhelmed by what we're talking about, the passion of like this being all you do. Although I would like to talk to her, but maybe for a later episode or something. I wanted us to sit and talk about what we had found in our research, and really what I'm more interested in, honestly, is like the people. So, friends of mine that I know here range from interested in it to very passionate about it.
Passionate about believing in it, believing the theory is true.
Yes, that she was here for sure, definitely, no question.
Okay.
And I'll say I've been told, how can you say that, these older people that, well, I mean, most of them are past by now, but even in the 80s, older people were saying this happened and they remember it. And they're very passionate. How can you say they're lying? And I'm like, well, you need to go to their testimony, because they didn't actually say I met Amelia Earhart. They say I saw a white chick here in 1937. Like, I totally believe that. I have no reason to believe that they're lying. But just to determine this as historical fact, you can't make the leap from white chick to it was definitely Amelia Earhart.
Right.
Right. Okay, that it would have been unusual for it to be anyone here, but that's just not, that is not the definite, certain piece of evidence that you need.
It certainly seems that of all the white people in the world, it's more likely that it was
right. She's probably the single most likely,
because she was just in the vicinity, but that does not mean it was her.
Right.
Conclusively.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's. But most people that I meet are just interested, like that. I think the guy I met last night, they're both named Charlie. So I was hanging out with two Charlies last night. But the other guy said, well, we may never know. We may never get that final piece of evidence that says, oh, it was definitely one way or the other. The plane may never be found on the bottom of the ocean. That's totally possible, because, as we said, the ocean is big and it's really deep. You can rule some things out. There was one expedition that was centered on an island where they were certain that it had crashed there, and if we just do a deep water search in the vicinity of the island, we'll find it, and nothing was found. It's like, well, okay, then the plane's not here, because planes don't disappear. They can be torn up and they can be broken apart, but the metal that made them would still be there.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I know it's maybe a little early. I don't remember when the Titanic sank, but the Titanic's starting to break apart. I mean, it's starting to just decompose in more serious ways than when it was first found. And they say some of that's the acidification of the ocean due to climate change, but I mean, metal in saltwater has a big. Saltwater has a big effect on metal, and the plane was aluminum. I'm imagining the Titanic was steel. I don't know what the differences would be chemically, but steel's usually stronger than titanium. I mean, and then aluminum.
Oh, I would disagree. I mean, I would disagree from a point of absolutely no knowledge about this chemistry.
Oh yeah, because
so I would think. Well, I would think aluminum would last longer. You don't think so?
It may. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
I'm not a chemist. I don't know. We need to get a chemist on here. Tell us the answer to that. But so let me revise what I said. In the amount of time that has passed, it would still be there. The plane would not have disappeared. I would think so.
Unless there is unless aluminum just really breaks down in salt water for some reason, which doesn't seem likely. I mean,
no, I don't think so. I don't think it would be that quick that it would disappear. But I mean, if it was, then I guess they wouldn't be doing these searches. I'm not really sure they should be doing them anyway. Let's see. So I mean, it's not. So you were asking about how it affects people on the island. The answer is it doesn't affect people that much. It's not like people walk around obsessed every day. I gotta find Amelia Earhart. Where is she? Check the grocery store. No, but it's a popular topic on the island. It is a popular topic. There's a movement to get a monument built. That's probably the more popular topic.
Yeah, there was an article saying that was controversial too, by the way. I was like, is it controversial or?
I don't know. I mean, it's a popular theory on the island, but it's not the accepted theory, and it would be kind of out of place to have an Amelia Earhart monument here in 50 years. If someone finds the plane and determines this is not what happened, then there would be an odd place. But at the same time, she's a kind of a war hero. She's a American hero for sure. She's a feminist hero. It's not a bad thing to have a monument to her.
I think the controversy was that they wanted $150,000 to put that monument up while everything was degrading over there.
Okay,
they could really.
That's it.
What you don't realize is it's going to be a gold monument at the top of a casino. There are going to be dolphins jumping off in every direction.
A dolphin.
Just the way
that dolphin out of the crash.
Just the way Amelia Earhart would have wanted it.
She's like flying out of the aircraft.
She says, "Cross the Pacific and win big."
The bird at Noonan. She's like, "Smell you later, Nooner."
I thought my odds of crossing the Pacific were pretty good, but yours will be better at our grand casino.
At these fantastic prices.
There's more of a chance of you winning at the blackjack table than me getting all the way to Honolulu.
Oh
no.
Hi.
Oh, tough crowd, eh?
Tough crowd today.
I'm sorry I made fun of a lady who died over 100 years ago. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry I put a little explosion to represent her demise on my mouth.
It wasn't over 100. My apologies.
No, it wasn't. It's not quite 100 yet. 37. What do we got? 15 more years. So 85 years ago.
Oh, I don't have 15 more years.
Well, hang on, because we got a lot more episodes to do.
Hang on. You want to make that anniversary of Amelia Earhart, don't you, Scott? If that's what'll get me. That's what'll keep me from getting up every morning. I got to make that centennial anniversary. The crash or near or miraculous survival of Amelia Earhart, depending on what you believe.
Well, miraculous survival and then death by dysentery or something.
I think she's still alive and she's living a fabulous lesbian lifestyle in Thailand.
There you go. Why didn't they pick Thailand? New Jersey. What a terrible end. No wonder that woman didn't want to. She's like, I don't even like my life. I don't want it to saddle Amelia Earhart with it. No. Move her to Thailand.
Move her to somewhere exotic. This is just New Jersey. There's nothing here.
All right,
I'm
guys.
certainly not Amelia Earhart. What was that lady's name? I gotta look it up now. Oh my gosh.
Poor Nooner, though. Nobody cares about his body.
I know.
Like, where's Nooner's body? Nobody cares.
We've done nothing but make fun of him. I'm sure he was a lovely person.
He got Amelia
a little
Earhart
overconfident,
killed. He got Amelia Earhart killed. Screw him.
Oh yeah, exactly. What a dick.
My name's Irene. I live here in New Jersey.
You're gonna get sued over that.
I'm not Amelia Earhart. But I'm saying what she said. How am I gonna get sued?
Because you're trying to tell people you're her. She doesn't like that kind of thing.
I mean,
she wants to be her. You're you. Me, Earhart's her. Let's not switch identity.
Identity theft is not a joke.
Not at all. I've just sold your identity. I always think it's funny how they call it identity theft. It's money. They're going for money. They're not really trying to pretend to be you. They're not going to the grocery store in a wig and saying, "I'm Irene." They're just trying to steal your money.
They're not Mystique from the X-Men, you know. I mean, they're
Now, she can do identity theft.
yeah, she's doing the identity theft.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we've veered far enough off our intended target.
Just like Amelia Earhart.
Now you're getting it.
It's so funny that she died.
Oh no, Scott! It's a rare form today.
No, just making a joke. It's not funny. She was a great
No, it's
lady.
not funny. I know the yeah. You meant the opposite of what you said.
Tragedy plus time equals comedy.
Especially when I
That's
didn't
what
know
I
him.
I even make
You're
jokes.
gonna make
when
me-
you know them.
Make me feel bad about making fun of Amelia Earhart.
Well, it's a little too soon, Scott.
It
Check in 15
Fine.
years. 100 years later, it'll be not too soon. You won't have any-
is. After the centennial.
You have to wait
can
till
make
after
fun
the centennial. Yeah.
You can finally make
Well, do you
fun of
guys want to
people.
see the beach before we?
Yeah.
I'm only a few years away from being able to make fun of all those Wall Street people who jumped out of the windows during the stock market crash. Great Depression.
Defenestration is not funny.
Ooh, pretty. Look at that. Ah, I
Isn't it
love-
gorgeous? I didn't bother to turn the camera around, do the other camera. I just
Oh, it's fine.
flipped it. I did the old physical flip. Well, maybe I should have because there is one more thing to talk about, although there's not much to say, and that's just that I'm still waiting on a word from the embassy or from the consulate rather. That's to update anyone keeping up with the show. I'm still trying to get into China. I stopped holding my breath many months ago because I'd be dead by now if I didn't.
So you just pass out and start breathing again. But
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'm afraid to try it. I'm afraid
Yeah.
my concentration will be too great and I'll keep holding my breath while unconscious.
I mean, it's not worth the risk.
It's just not worth the risk. Also,
Not worth-
there's no point to it at all.
no.
It doesn't help anything. But we are trying to get into China, and I'm waiting on a visa, and I was tentatively approved. So, we're still within the window of how long it takes them to do the approval. I was just hoping they'd get it, see that it was for me, and just be like, hey, it's Wesley. We're definitely going to approve this right away.
Is
That's
that the guy
thing in
from
there.
Is that the guy from Untethered live stream?
Exactly.
I love the
Exactly. I
show.
assumed. Yeah. When you said that, it felt like you were narrating a Japanese, mid 20th century Japanese film. I love his show. Or anime. It's
Like
the best.
the early anime stuff before they kind of got the voice acting down. Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the
there we
Speed
go.
Racer stuff would be really.
The Speed Racer. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly
yeah.
what I was thinking of. You're right. Yeah, that's what was in my head.
You're applying for a visa to go to China.
Yeah, that was in my head. That's what was happening.
Oh.
Except,
I'm glad I could bring that to life.
except real Chinese people working at the consulate instead of Speed Racer.
I mean, to each his own.
Small change. Auteur's choice. So that's it for that. We don't have any word on that yet.
I hope for your sake, I hope it goes through speedily.
Well, speedily. Well, maybe our Speed Racer consulate workers can help.
I just see the Speed Racer like sitting there like stamping stuff with an old timey rubber stamp, and it keep those papers coming, Chim Chim.
It's the not so glamorous part of his job.
He's got to have a day job to keep up, the garage for his car.
Well, racing is really
One would
expensive.
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, it is expensive, but you can win,
Especially when you do it
big
so
prizes,
speedily.
especially if you're Amelia Earhart.
I'm actually going to do some kind of face meld thing tonight with those two. I'm definitely going to do it.
But she doesn't mean on the computer. She's going to have a seance, and summon the both of them.
And then we'll finally know the truth.
Wow.
And
Maybe don't do that
Erica
much
is the Scarlet Witch.
Maybe don't do that much necromancy near my brother's house.
No.
I mean,
They'll just hear a bunch of commotion over here and they'll go, oh, it's just Erica.
my brother called me about, hey, can you come up here? There's like zombies and stuff and ghosts.
There's a lot of flashing lights and ghosts orbiting Erica's house.
I think one of Erica's kids is out in the yard. His head's spinning completely like around.
Yeah, Santana does that occasionally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Until she burns so many calories. That's why she's so thin.
I mean, it takes a lot of muscles.
I would imagine.
Yeah. Mostly
all right, guys.
When you're done, so you can still use your legs. Just like Charles Xavier.
Just like Charles Xavier right now has no problems walking whatsoever. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. It was a good discussion. I'm glad we were able to stretch it out so long. not for any good reason, but I feels like we've been a while since we talked. So I'm glad we got to.
Well, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, that we didn't solve this mystery for you in the limited time we've had together. But I hope you'll join us next time in our 5-part mini-series on Amelia Earhart and Freddie Nooner. Where are they now?
Freddie Nooner.
Where are they now?
Who are they now? Amelia Earhart has changed her identity, and Freddie Nooner has changed his identity several times in this one show. Because no one can remember people remember Buzz Aldrin.
They would have looked longer for Buzz Aldrin if he'd been in the ocean. That's all I'm saying. If he'd crashed in the ocean, they'd have been looking more than 10 days. Been out there, you got to find Buzz Aldrin.
Right.
You want the Ruskies to get a hold of him? How embarrassing.
That would be embarrassing. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Did either one of you have anything you wanted to add? I forgot to ask anything that we didn't discuss in the past hour and 45 minutes.
No, I don't think so.
Scott, what should we mention conclusions before we wrap it up? I think I already gave my conclusion.
No, I think anything that pretty much came into my mind, I let it just spew right out of my mouth earlier. So
that's the way to do it. Really is. Erica, anything?
I'm on that same, path, that whole spewy path.
The whole spewy path. All right, guys. Well, thanks to the viewers. If you want to see more episodes of Untethered, and you're not already a subscriber, you can go to the YouTube page. Is the traffic noisy here, by the way?
No.
Okay, good. You can go to the YouTube page, Untethered Live Streams. You can subscribe. You can look at the links at the top. On the banner, you can subscribe to my Twitter, which when we're traveling a little more, I tweet a little more. Haven't been tweeting too much lately. But also the blog, the Patreon. If you want to join, there's some good stuff there, and hopefully we'll have some examples of that one day, of the stuff that you get when you join the Patreon. But you do get little goodies when you join, T-shirts and coffee mugs and things like that. And did I forget anything, guys?
I don't think so.
We don't have a next episode scheduled yet. It'll be something next week, but I didn't schedule it because it's a little hard to get around the island. I'm never sure exactly where we're going to be or what we're going to be able to do, so I'm just holding off until I know. Yes?
But if you're watching this in the future, it won't matter to you because the next episode video link will appear right here.
Oh, right there?
Maybe.
I might have to.
I would like
I
that.
have to shift you around. Would you like me to shift it so that you're in the right spot? There you go. You can hold the video link. It'll appear right there.
I thought I was.
Or you could point at it. The TikTokers love to do those little pointing things where they point at words that pop up.
They do like to do that.
What?
Right.
Yeah, they do. Like they're pointing at words as they pop up. They're like, here, point, point, point. It really, I'm like, you stole that from Sesame Street, you turds. Like, this is not me.
You turds.
Hey,
you worthless pointing turd.
Don't make fun. That's the best educational content some of those people have ever had.
Well,
have you seen
I'm
the
just
schools
saying,
here
like,
lately?
but they use it for stupid reasons on TikTok. I love Sesame Street.
Yeah, not knocking Sesame Street. It was the greatest thing our country ever did.
I mean, it's still on the air. I mean, let's not use the past tense, but yeah. If this stream ever turned against Sesame Street, I would quit and protest.
Well, I don't plan for that to happen, so
I know.
I feel like we can avoid it.
It's a hollow threat.
I mean, I gotta be honest. Sesame Street has never pissed me off, so if they come after me, no.
I mean, if that ever happens, I'll be shocked. But yeah, I'll have to reconsider my position if they do. Yeah.
Did Wesley just be like, "Don't start nothing, won't be nothing"? To Sesame Street.
F around and find out, big bird. There you go, folks. Here's your quote for the day. F around and find out, big bird.
Are we starting the Sesame Street dispute this episode?
Yeah, we're starting beef with Sesame Street.
I think we already have. Oh well. It's on now.
Sorry, bird.
All right, guys. Thanks again. Thanks to the viewers. See you next time. See you next video.
Bye.
Jag är där, och kan man komma